real business owner.
Whatever your situation is currently is not your forever situation.
That's really what real business owners is, man. Like, we don't care where you come from, where are you going?
Our goal and our job is to reduce the mistakes that you have to make or the money that you have to lose.
You want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be successful, don't give up.
You learn, adjust, and continue to move forward. Welcome back to the Real Business Owners Podcast. This is episode 127 with myself, Trevor Cowley, as always, Kel Goodman.
What's up, my friends?
Guys, today, we have an individual that is an author. I'll start there.
Yeah,
but the
I
resume,
like the sound of that.
the resume is just maybe a little too long to name it all. You did hockey for 14 years. You're a coach and a mentor to entrepreneurs. What else? And probably investor into some things.
Speaker, investor, real estate agent. Technically, I still got my license.
Let's be real. Just one
business owner.
Yeah, business owner.
I own a
real business owner.
Restaurant in Canada.
There you go.
And it's
don't
crazy.
Don't forget around all around badass.
Well, we got to tell him his name.
This is Dave Is it Scatchard?
Scatchard.
Scatchard.
Dave Scatchard.
But no, I mean this individual's accomplished a lot in his life and gone through a lot, dealt with a lot of struggle. He's overcome struggle. He's come back better, faster, stronger than ever before, and just has a ton of value to bring to you guys today. And we actually flew to him to get him on the show. We actually originally connected because we were going to have him come speak at a company retreat, because this individual we just know is going to bring a lot of light and help a lot of people.
There's a whole story in itself, with the airlines.
I'm telling you right now, we could probably crush a 6-hour podcast.
Oh, I guarantee it.
Right
I
now.
would tell people right now too, before we let Dave start talking, it's like, this is the type of episode you're going to want to have like a pen and paper out, take some notes.
Yeah.
Already, just in the hour we've been hanging out before we jump on the podcast, it's like, man, so many great takeaways from your stories and just your hindsight on things.
With
right?
a guy like him, you just don't even know where to start, because there's so many different facets, to his life, and so many different areas where he's overcome things, right? And so, why don't you tell just a little bit about, one, where you're originally from, right?
Yeah. Wow, you guys are amazing. I should bring you on the road.
Well,
you could be my hype man.
Yeah,
we're ready.
We only said that because the $100 you gave us right before the show. So you slipped us that $100. We're going to say whatever you want us to say. So,
well, hey,
it works.
I'm grateful. You guys are very kind, and I'm really just honored that you guys would take the time to come down here and share what you're doing and let me share what I'm doing, and sort of share these stories that have the potential to really have impact. And, this is kind of my second go around in this life, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. But right now it's about adding value and impacting. And that's such a, I don't want to say overused term now.
Yeah.
Everybody's saying it all the time, but truly that is what my mission is right now.
And you could tell. You could tell. I mean, individuals that are just getting to know you or just barely starting to listen, I'm sure by the end of the show, they'll realize that that's authentic, it's genuine, and it's just coming from that true place. I think a lot of people will use those terms as a marketing thing, right? Like, just serve. I'm here to serve, but in reality, they're there to take, right? And so that's what they put forward facing for individuals to kind of let their guard down a little bit. But, as we've been setting up the podcast, we've had the pleasure of talking to Dave probably for the last hour, and you could just tell he's just an all-around good dude. And it's taken him, so many different, his life has taken so many different twists and turns, and I'm sure 10 years ago or 15 years ago, you didn't believe that you would probably even be the man that you are today, based upon some of the struggles that you were facing at that moment. And one of the reasons why I was excited to have you on the show after reading through the book is I think everybody just thinks that their struggle's unique to them, and you were talking to us about a documentary that you did, and you were, asking people some very similar questions, and they would come up with some very similar answers. And so, this individual has literally died and come back.
Right.
The book that he's an author of is literally titled The Comeback. And we were talking right before we got on the show. the comeback has, I mean, you determine where you want to put the comeback, because there's 4 or 5 different scenarios where Dave did a comeback just in life in general. And I just really admire you and respect you for the man that you've created or built and who you are today versus where, after reading your story and where you've been, you've seemed like you've been through some very, very dark times. And I think right now there's a lot of people going through dark times. The world is in chaos. It's crazy. I think they're more focused on external of what's going on rather than actually looking within. And I think that that's a big problem. And I think that your book, actually, I know for a fact, your book, I think, will bring light into people's life if they are in a dark place, if they are struggling. And, I'm being 100% real with you guys right now. I don't read many books that are just a complete page turner. I've literally read through his book in a matter of 4 days.
Yeah.
And it usually takes
said that
me,
every day for the last 4 days.
Yeah, no,
so,
legit.
yeah.
Like that's just not who I am. Usually when I read to try to, get better in business or get this edge here or that and try to find that little nugget that's going to change my life. And I was like, well, how is this guy's story? Because there's so many, it's almost like an autobiography to a certain extent, because there's so many stories, but I believe that that's what made it the page turner. And I shared that with you when I originally met you here just not too long ago. And so, let's jump into some of that stuff, some of the dark times that maybe that you've had to overcome, and what were some of the people, places, things that helped you, be the Dave that you are today? Because it seems as though meeting you versus reading some of those situations that you had to go through, those are 2 totally different people, right?
Man, thank you for that.
Yeah.
I may get emotional today because you don't know what the impact's going to be when you're creating something.
Yeah.
Whether you're going live on Zoom to thousands of people or whether you're doing a podcast, or you don't know. You were telling me about the guy from, that other country.
Yeah.
I'm not going to mention it, but, well, I guess I can. Australia, that shared with you what you had impacted in his life.
He stopped using drugs and started focusing on his family, and his business is doing better than ever.
From you creating art, you being an artist and creating something out of nothing. And there were so many times when I wanted to quit the book and I couldn't really share everything because I was worried about what people would think or judge, or I didn't need to do it really.
Yeah.
Like, why? But I did make a promise to God that I would share the story, and it took me a decade to get it out the door. But the fact...
Dude, I honestly, just reading all your words, dude, I'm telling you, you guys don't understand how much heart this man and his entire soul feels like it's in the book.
Right.
Like, like, look, I've got chills right now because literally, and you guys don't know this, but me and Dave both looked at a picture and he talked about this picture of him as a child, in chapter 10 or chapter 11, when he started having these breakthrough moments. And for whatever reason, I look over and I was just drawn to this picture. I was like, I've seen that before. It was because I just read about it. Like I'm telling you guys right now, you don't meet a whole lot of people like Dave that's just vulnerable, authentic, and genuine. And that also, behind all that, there's a lot of trauma. There's a lot of struggle. Right? Usually when people go through trauma and struggle, they come out, calloused, like a worse type person, where they look at the world through a negative lens, right? And everything's happening to them. It's not necessarily happening for them. And they can't necessarily see the light in the darkness.
And that's not their fault.
Yeah.
When we take a big shot or we open ourselves up to somebody loving us and they break our heart, like, we just throw on the armor and the masks and say, like, listen, that hurt too much. I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to put myself out there and be hurt that deeply, because I'm a sensitive person. But, I think one of the gifts that I've been given in my recovery of my injuries and all my stuff is that I've been able to find a way to be soft, and vulnerable and authentic, but strong.
Right.
Like, it's almost strengthened me like times 10.
Well, I honestly think being vulnerable is strength, because a lot of men don't want to be vulnerable because they're scared to look weak. Therefore, they can't get past the fear. In order to get past that fear, they have to have courage to not worry about that situation. So it does take strength to be vulnerable.
Yeah, and it takes actually faith.
Yeah.
That you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And that it's okay to share all the way. And that people may judge you, but here's what I've understood, and we'll talk about it later on, but as I've removed the masks and the armor, I've never been more protected in my life.
Yeah.
And I thought I needed all that to protect my little heart and my soul. But as I'm stepping into who I am and who I've become, it's almost like I'm being cloaked, and I look at it like a invisible light shield that protects me. And I have never been more protected. And it's so counter what you would think would be normal. And I got really emotional when you were talking, because the man that you're describing is really the man that I've been trying to become this whole time, like to a T.
Well, I don't think that you realize how much you embody that yet. I don't think that you give yourself enough credit for who you are today, because let's be real, your brain still is just a record of the past and wants to replay all of this old situations, these old scenarios. So it's hard to identify with who we are today, even if we've made a huge shift, because your mind's like, well, you're still this, you're still that. No, good. Yeah, you're trying to move in that direction, but I think that you're there. That doesn't mean that there's not a new level, but I think that you're much further along than you give yourself credit for, in terms of just, you know, the ability to make an impact on people.
And I appreciate that. And part of the man you're describing was my father. And my father was such a big role model, and he's such a good dude, and he was so real and so helpful, and just like love people. And when he passed recently, a couple of years ago, I tried to make a vow to myself that I would live a life that he would be super proud of if he was watching down on me. And when you were describing those things, I was like, wow, like he sees it and he feels it. Like that's what I want. That's what I want people to see and feel. And from a real place. And this has nothing to do with any sort of sales or marketing thing, but I truly believe that all the business owners out there that are listening, like if you can show up and you're authentic and really care about people, you'll never run out of business.
Right.
We talked about it a little bit earlier. Like you won't, because people want to know that somebody cares about them. They want to know that you're in it, not for their paycheck, but because you want to help them.
Yeah.
Like business 101.
Well, I think that the reason why that is because there's so many people in business just for the end result, the money, the houses, the cars, the this, the that, the definition that society says success is. So that's what you're chasing, right? And what could set you apart and really blow up your business is actually just doing the complete opposite of that, and stop worrying about all those things and be of service, just as you talked about.
And like truly like loving on your clients, and even like we all go to try to find all these new clients and stuff, but even nurturing the ones that we have who have already pulled out their checkbook and paid for your product or your service, loving on them, overly giving them more value, letting them know that you didn't forget about them, that they're still there. And I love to do all kinds of little things. And we've had deaths, somebody's parent died or grandparent or whatever. And like, as a business, I made it a priority where my assistant or I would send them something that would allow them to remember their
something meaningful,
their loved one.
Yeah.
And one person, we pulled a Facebook picture that he posted of him and his dad. We made this beautiful frame. We had this poem that he had about his dad, and we overnighted it to him like within a couple days of the thing. And he was in my mastermind group, and he came into the mastermind group, and he was holding it beside him with just tears pouring down. He's like, you guys are like my real family. Like when your clients can call you their family and you treat them like they're your family, it's not about money at that point. It's about stepping up.
But that feeling that you probably got when that happened was better than the money that he spent to hire you as a coach and as a mentor. That's more powerful and meaningful to you as an individual. I already just know that after getting to know you. One thing that I thought was super interesting and I jotted it down because I wanted to talk to you about this on the podcast, was, I mean, his whole body's been broken, beat up, you know, all that stuff, right? I mean, you're playing hockey, right?
Well, but I think here's the thing. I want to interrupt you because I think it's funny because whether we're in business or we're a stay-at-home mom or whatever, like we go through stuff. Yeah. Okay. And it's like kind of your battle scars, but you usually heal. And other than my head trauma, like everything pretty much healed itself, or doctors could put me back together. But I want to let people know like what goes behind all these jerseys and what goes behind this home and this lifestyle that I've built. Like when I was writing it in the book, and I wish I had the page open right now, but I started documenting like every injury, and it's kind of nuts. So
I know I was reading through it and I was just like, okay, what? So, I'm like, what? This guy's been through some shit, you know?
So just, we'll take 2 seconds here to talk about it, but like, it wasn't easy is what I'm saying. And people are like, athletes are overpaid or whatever. Like, I want to let people know what really happened. So
it was like a half a page of injuries,
yeah.
Brown.
So
like,
I'll just go rattle them off really quickly, and I don't want to do them disservice, but these are things we either played through or we went through. And I'll start just from the top because it's easiest, but I had 5 concussions that are documented. I had 5 different spots in my brain where the MRI showed that there was microhemorrhaging or bleeding. 12 broken noses, broken orbital bone, teeth knocked out here.
3 times.
Yeah. Knuckles broken, forearm broken, 6 ribs broken, hip surgery, both MCLs on both my knees, grade 3 on those, broken leg, 4 surgeries on my heels, 3 surgeries on my shoulders. And these are just kind of like off the top of my head. I know there's a couple more that I'm missing. Oh, broken feet from blocking shots and things like that.
Well, there was also where you had to have surgery on your feet where they took the
bone out of
your hip
and
then had to put it in your feet.
Like, who has hollow feet?
You just play through some of that stuff too. Like if you know you broke your foot in a game, it's like whatever. I just keep going.
You don't even take off your skate because as soon as you do, it just goes.
Swells up.
So it's almost like a little cast, and the adrenaline is so much that like I played on broken feet a lot.
Yeah,
and not like the whatever those metatarsals are. Is that what it's called for your feet?
Yeah,
but yeah, like. Those ones we could play through, and then I'd have a walking boot after the game. So like guys would see me in my suit walking in with a walking boot, and then they'd see me on the ice, and I'd finish the game, I'd put my boot on, and I'd walk back out the door. And like fans don't know what's going on unless they're real big fans. They're watching all the behind the scenes stuff. So like there was stuff like that where, I was lucky to play 14 years, 650 something games. Like out of those 650 something games, and that doesn't include exhibition or playoffs
the
or
previous getting up to the league either.
No. And how many days did I feel like 100%? Like 5% of those days of my body something wasn't bruised. Like that doesn't count bruises or like strains in your muscles in your legs or your hips. Like we were always sore.
Yeah.
So the point being, how can we relate this to business? Well, you're going to be uncomfortable in your business. There's going to be growing pains. It's going to not be easy. There's going to be times when you don't want to go to work and you don't want to do the Facebook Live and you don't want to do the Instagram post and right? We can go on forever. So like, how do we override that system and just know that the purpose is so much bigger than us that we have to? We don't really have a choice.
Yeah.
And one of the things I've been really playing with that is extremely powerful, and it's just pretty recent, is I have these large groups that I work with and financial advisors and all these people. And I was trying to figure out how to explain to them why it can't be about them. Okay. And if you're a business owner, you're trying to be, for coaching, if somebody's afraid to put themselves out there for fear of judgment, this is how I override that. And this is a little trick that I've kind of just been playing with and it's been working really well, is I imagine that there is, let's say 5,000 or 10,000 people that show up outside a hockey arena in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and they know that I'm presenting something. I'm presenting something that could possibly help them in their life or their business for the rest of their life. And it's freezing. and it's freezing cold. And they're standing outside with their ticket. And I'm sitting there trying to think in my head, like, well, is this good enough? Like, should I go? Should I open the doors and let them in? Or like, I don't know. Like, I'm kind of afraid somebody might think it's not good enough, or I'm not smart enough, or I'm not good looking enough, or I'm not pretty enough, or whatever everybody says to themselves, right? That stops you from going live, or stops you from writing your book, or stops you from learning how to play the guitar, or whatever your thing is. And I started thinking like, well, they're freezing out there. Like, they're freezing. It is a snowstorm. They're waiting for me to open up the doors. It's nice and warm inside. I'm going to deliver a message. It's going to change somebody's life. So why am I procrastinating, being scared? And I'm making it about Dave Scatchard now.
Right.
I'm not making it about those people that I could possibly help.
Yeah.
And every single client that I've shared this with has been like, man, I use that all the time. Like, I use it every day.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to do my Facebook Live. I'm scared. I don't know if I'm going to do right. I don't know if my mics are right. I don't know if like the lighting's right. Screw that. Like, get your message out and then adjust. It's not going to be perfect, but sometimes people love the imperfections.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we do in our challenges is the first day I have people do things that are uncomfortable. So I'll have them go and share something with a Facebook Live. And we've got like thousands of people in our challenges now. And we'll have thousands of shares of people who don't even know how to use their camera, their things pointing the wrong way, like it's backwards.
They're probably,
I love it.
Yeah.
Right.
Get them in the most uncomfortable state they can. Yeah.
I had a girl here in a workshop that I did the other day, and she's like talking about this man, and they used to date, and then they kind of got in an argument, and they went their separate ways, but she still cares about him.
Right.
And I said, well, call him. And she goes, well, I don't call guys. Like, that's not how I work. And I go, well, that's what you must do.
How you work doesn't work.
That's what you must do. There's something on the other side of the thing that you're afraid to do. There's gold on the other side, and sometimes it's just like summing up the courage and just like going for it and not caring about the result. It's like you just up-leveled yourself and expanded to a new person. Now she is a person that could call a man if she likes him. Now she could ask a guy on a date, and she would never do that in a trillion years, but she's starving for love. So like, you got to make a move of some kind. If what you're doing is not working, we got to bring more energy to it. We have to bring another dynamic, attack it from another angle. That's the cool thing about, like, I didn't even know I have all these skill sets, but by paying, and listen, I'll just talk about money because it's real. I've spent close to $800,000 in coaches and trainers and healers and monks and shaman and around the world, grandmasters, people that I went and sought out trying to figure out a way for me to heal and to get some new information I didn't have before. And what I didn't realize is I absorbed a lot. You might not think you remember or you know, but when it's crunch time and you're trying one angle,
your brain finds that.
And it's like, boom, let's hit them from this side. And we hit them with this totally other concept or idea or philosophy or way of being, and they're like, magic.
Yeah.
What you think is not special for you, and we talked about this earlier today,
so true.
It's a gift.
Right.
And God gave you that gift of uniqueness, because if we were all the same, this wouldn't be fun.
Yeah,
right.
If life was just this meteoric rise, it wouldn't be special because everybody could do it. So what makes you special? What special gifts do you have that are easy for you? I tell my clients this all the time. There's doodlers out there. I hired a company to do a whiteboard cartoon advertisement for me.
Yeah, those are
There's
awesome.
a guy, I paid like $6,000 for it. There's a guy that does a voiceover. That's his job. He does that every day of his life. There's a doodler. He doodles.
Yeah.
That's his job every day of his life. There's a lady that answers the phone. You can do whatever it is. You love trading hockey cards or baseball cards. There's a job for you. You love just helping people and running around and like being a little assistant. That's a job.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason why you can't take the things that you love to do and turn it into a business.
But there's no like figuring that out until you're willing to put yourself out there.
Take
action, and that's what I
yeah.
tell people all the time. Like, what's the key to success? Well, dude, you got to put yourself out there. Absolutely. And so many people allow these fears of these judgments and all this external stuff. And like you said, they're making it about themselves because of those fears, that they're not like, they're not really willing to put themselves out there. But when you can actually use that hack right there and be like, well, how is it going to impact other people? You all of a sudden become so much more willing. Like, every time I've gone on a stage, pretty much bombed, dude. You know what I mean? But I'm like, but when I tap into like, well, what can I say that's going to help these people? It's like, all of a sudden, not only did I put myself out there, opened up some doors, some opportunities to come back my way, but it's like I actually spoke better. You know what I mean? I actually delivered the message better when I make it about that. And that's such a great hack.
And no, he didn't bomb.
And-
Well, I'll say that. Right
I have bombed a few. That I'm like,
no.
but it was a good thing.
But
you're
that's
still
him
showing
judging.
up.
That's
Yes.
him judging himself, though.
Right.
You know, we're obviously more overcritical to
Well, yeah.
ourselves than
Right.
we are to other people. We'll give it. Oh, dude, you killed it. You did it.
Yeah.
But then sometimes when you're actually doing something right, sometimes it doesn't feel like you're doing something right.
Right,
you
right.
know. And so I've seen.
Or you might not think it hit, and then somebody will tell you, "Hey,
Yeah.
that helped me a lot."
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And it's
exactly.
and that's the bigger reward than the money or anything.
Oh my goodness! And that's the thing is when we first started doing these challenges, I knew there were people in there that couldn't afford my programs or would never buy my programs.
Yeah.
But that first challenge, and are we allowed to curse on this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
They've heard it before.
So I was telling the guys earlier, like I was doing all this coaching one-on-one with people and having really good impact and really good results. And there was a part of me that was afraid to play bigger, and I wasn't sure if my stuff was good enough to go play with the big boys, the Tony Robbinses and the Dean Graziosis and all these guys. And at a certain point during the pandemic, I just felt this like message to me that I needed to do something to help everybody else that couldn't afford my bigger programs, and I needed to do something for free. And I started running these free challenges, and we did I think 17,000 people last year came through our program, and out of that we had a couple hundred clients, which is great, and it pays the bills and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like the thousands that didn't pay. We probably had 400 or 500 emails saying, "You changed my life.
Yeah.
You saved my life. My kids listen to you now."
Yeah.
While I'm driving, they're listening to the challenges and stuff, and things that you wouldn't even.
Yeah.
And those mean as much to me as a paying client because we impacted and we touched a life with like authentic realness. And something's coming to me right now, so I'm just gonna run with it if that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were saying earlier, like
If it's downloaded from God, bro, just
yeah,
spit it out.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
well, let's just have real talk.
Yeah.
Like, how many of us are running programs that were given to us or told to us by somebody else?
Like
A mom,
all of us.
99% of
A
human
dad,
beings. Right.
a grandma.
Yeah.
Right. Like part of these breakthroughs that we're having with people are like having them really reevaluate all the rules of life. Like I remember being told, well, a good boy would never do that, Dave. So I'd be like, oh, well, I'll never do that again.
Yeah.
You can't be weak. You can't be a pussy. You can't be this.
Right.
People told me this.
Yeah.
Like, you don't complain. Speak when spoken to. Right? Like, mind your own beeswax. Respect your elders. Save every penny. Lock it down. Like, everything that I was taught as I'm getting older and as I'm having these amazing, like, breakthroughs in reality, I'm creating a new reality that's like, those weren't true.
Right.
Those came from
Those
grandpa
were
who was
somebody
broken.
else. Yeah.
Broke.
Right.
That came from my dad. You got to work 60 hours in the coal mines to make a penny. Well, no, you don't. Because like
Yeah.
I did it a different way. And it starts to override the whole system. I'm like, who made up all these rules?
Right.
Your wife can't dress like that. Your kids have to get perfect grades. It's a reflection on you as a bad parent. No, that's not true. The pandemic's blowing everybody's kids up. And I mean, like my kids were straight A students and they were failing last year during the pandemic because it's such a crazy change and learning virtually and the teachers weren't even showing up and it was just a disaster. But it doesn't mean my kids aren't good kids. It
Right.
doesn't mean that they're not smart. So like, I'm not going to buy into everyone's rules about how I have to play the game. I'd rather design my life and play the game that I want to play. That's what you guys are getting to too with your business now is like, you're starting to make up your own rules.
Yeah.
You don't have to play by anybody else's rules. And that's the thing is like when you step in that authenticity and you show who you really are and what you're about, then it's easy.
Yeah.
It's like, man, that's not who I am. I don't have to, no, I know I'm a good person. And I don't have to mute myself. I don't have to dim my light. That drives me crazy.
Right.
Hey, you're too loud. You're this, you're that. Well, sorry, that's who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is how I frame it every time for my clients. I'm like, listen, I'm going on a magic carpet ride. And my magic carpet is as big as I want it to be. And if you're with me, jump on board because it's going to be an epic ride. But if you're hating on me or you don't believe in me, that's okay. I'll wave to you as I fly by. I don't hate you, but like I'm going to wave to you. I got big things to do.
Yeah.
Are you on or are you off? And that's it. I don't care. If you don't like me right now, that's okay. I love you.
Yeah.
If you love me and you want to do business, like, cool, great. That's okay. Nothing changes in my world. I'm showing up the way that I'm designed to show up in the way that God designed me to be. And for a long time, I showed up inauthentically as a hockey player because The first time I moved away from home, it hurt me so much. And the first time I got bullied, I was so scared. And my first time my dad gave me a spanking, like I was just stacking all this armor over my heart and soul. Because little David, this little sensitive guy that Trevor was talking about the picture where I was flying like Superman. That was how I was designed. I hadn't been told what to do or how to be.
Yeah, you were flying in that picture, bro. You were limitless.
I
There
was.
was no kryptonite around for you. But the world itself is almost a kryptonite.
It's
the
bound.
people. Yeah, again, when somebody says you can or can't do something, again, that's their belief system that was handed down from their parents or their coaches, teachers, whoever it was, right? And so, again, somebody can't put labels on you of what you can or can't do.
Don't let them bind you.
Yeah.
Right.
Like become unbound. It is so liberating and so freeing. And imagine all the things you could do if you knew you could never fail.
But what does that process look like for an individual? Because it sounds so cool and it sounds easy and hip. Like, you get to make the rules of your life. You quit being bounded by the system or what other people believe the system is. How does an individual get to the point where they feel as though that they're living an authentic life that makes their light lighter, brighter, right? Where they can impact more people.
Start living like a soul and not a role.
I
Role
like
of
that.
a mom. You got to be a dishwasher. You got to be a cook. You got to be a grocery getter. You got to drive the kids to school. Like, that's not attractive. But what if you got to be magical partner in somebody's journey of their life? That's a different feeling than a mom or a wife. Well, you got to do this and you're a wife and you got to be this way. What about a magical cosmic soul lover that like is in rapture of her best friend?
So you're just redefining what. So you're just redefining
Build a
things.
new box.
You're creating new stories around your life and what the meaning of your life is, and starting to tie your emotions to that meaning rather than the system.
Yeah, I'm looking behind me because I got a whiteboard with like kind of a whole explanation on somewhat of this concept, but maybe we'll touch on it later.
Well, maybe what we can do is at the end of the podcast,
Film
maybe,
like a little
maybe we
YouTube.
can record like a
post it up.
10 or 15 or 20 minute thing with the whiteboard, and we could post that up on YouTube
That's a
for
great
people
idea.
to go check out, so that they can get maybe more in depth with Dave
That's
on
a great
something
idea.
like that.
Sounds
do-
great.
Yeah,
I do want to
maybe let's
ask.
do that.
I wanted to ask too, because we were talking off camera, because what we're talking about right now, people got to get to a point where they're out of the shit to look at their life of like, okay, like, what do I need to do to become a person of like impact and influence and do all these things? And I was telling you off camera, I was like, man, like I went through this crazy divorce, and it's kind of what forced me into personal growth. And that changed the trajectory of our company 10 years ago. And then Trev, when him and I started going through some other personal growth through business, it was like, boom, that really changed the trajectory of the last 5 years. Right. And I'm like, and then you said, well, I have a theory of why people go through things like divorces and all these things. Right. And like, I would love to hear what your theory is on that, because that's what really pushed me going through that and throwing me through that journey to finally look at my life and be like, oh my gosh, like I didn't realize how angry I was. I didn't realize how insecure and all these things that I were until I went through that. And I want people to go through things to see that, right? But if they understand the theory of why we go through these things, like maybe we can do it quicker.
Yeah, what the weird thing is people don't make extreme changes unless they go through something extremely negative. Right? Because then that really wakes you up and you're in such a low place that you're like, I can't stand it anymore. And then
Can I show you?
you
I
have
gotta
to-
I gotta do the whiteboard now. I
Yeah.
have to, because I have this exact thing written out.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Let's pull it over. And
Okay,
we'll
gonna
just hold the mic.
What do you think?
I don't know. Is this possible?
We'll hold the mic.
Well, shit, because like it's so exactly what you're talking about.
Let's
that-
pull it close to your chair and then
Let's just. Sorry, I don't want. We're in this flow. I don't want to screw it up.
Oh no, you're good.
I don't wanna
I'm
screw
looking.
it up.
I'm monitoring
Look.
this back here.
Why don't we just film it later, and then edit it into like right now? Okay. Yeah. Right, because then we don't have to undo and redo.
Yeah, so you guys are gonna,
Right.
you guys will get what Dave's trying to get to you at
So-
one point or another.
Are we still rolling?
Yeah, we're still
Okay.
rolling. Yeah,
Okay.
and I don't want you to touch any of this shit. I want people to hear all the craziness. But again, you're just reconfirming
Right.
who we said you were, because you can't. You're like popping out of your chair like, I gotta get this information to people. You know, like
It's so perfectly aligned with what you're saying,
Yeah.
and obviously we'll show it at the end. So there's two pieces, but basically, I was meditating. I got a movie theater in here, so I can go in there in the mornings and do my work, and that's one of my habits that I do from 4 to 5 a.m. every day as I do my meditation and work. And I was in there, and this whole vision of this like map started to show up in my field, and I didn't want to forget it. So I'm whacked out in my meditation. I'm all blissed out, and I'm running into my office. I'm trying to find a big white paper to write on, and I just start scribbling it out. And I have it here. I think it's actually right over there. And it's just crinkled now. It's beat up, but I pulled it out 1,000 times. And I can't, every time I go to erase it, I need it.
Yeah.
So I just leave it on my whiteboard because when I'm teaching people, it happens so many times. So I ended up calling it the Champion's Map. But ultimately what it is it's a diagram. And on the bottom is the thing called the pit. Then there's a tunnel of hell. Then there's this thing called existing. And then there's a champion's ladder. And then there's champion awakened all-star space is what we call it. And we've all lived in these different places. You've been in the pit. You've been in the pit. You've been on a tunnel of hell where you feel it sliding. You're like, oh my God. And the energy's dropping and you can't even see a way out. Like you're like, this is not going to end well. That's usually when I get my clients. So they're on the champion's ladder trying to break through to champion, or they're sliding and they're like, dude, I don't know what's going on. Help me.
Right.
Okay. And I don't get the middle tier. I don't get existing
it's
or
not
surviving.
bad enough yet.
There's nothing. There's not enough pain.
There. Again, you get what you're willing to endure, and when it gets bad enough that you just can't endure anymore, that's usually when people reach out for help, right?
And that's when new energy comes in. So there needs to be, if something's not working in your life, your health, your relationship, your finances, the energy is either not the right type of energy or there's not enough energy. So imagine like, it's funny because I feel like I should be diagramming all this out, but I can do it with my hands. Imagine if God gave you 100 units of energy and said, I want you to do something epic today. And you're using 5 units of energy over here, scrolling your Instagram account, and 5 units on your emails, and then 5 units on running around getting all your groceries, and you're picking up your dry cleaning, 5 units for the wife, 10 units for the kids, 10 units for the business. And by the end of the day, it's so diffused, and there's nothing laser about it. There's not enough juice to make the ball move. So what I like to do is I imagine I'm pushing like this boulder up this like hill. And if I'm not using every ounce of my body and my legs and I got to get this. If I don't, it's just going to roll back over me. I don't have enough. Yeah. I can't run over and do these little things tasks, right? So I started to create like a to-don't list, and we talked a little bit briefly about that. Yeah. And instead of a to-do list, it's a to-don't list. And there are things like getting groceries. Well, now we can use, in Arizona, we've got Fry's, and we can do a click list, and Costco's got a thing, and they'll deliver it. And like for those $5, if you're a business owner and you're a few $100 to a few $1,000 an hour guy, why on earth would you be doing those menial tasks that you could pay somebody $5 or $10 or $15 to go do for you?
Yeah. And it might sound stupid, but at the end of the day, you're also helping other people by doing it, because then that's something that somebody else has a job doing and they get their money that way. So some people are like, well, that's just dumb. I could just do it myself. Why would I spend money on? Well, because your time's more valuable than that. And then also somebody's getting paid to do it.
What's more valuable than your time? And what's more valuable than the energy that you're using to live your life? I'd rather use my energy and my time to be helping people than to be running around a grocery store trying to find a box of Triscuits or whatever.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%.
So, like, let's just be smarter about some of these decisions. And, like, I know a couple of billionaire guys, and one of them still has his nanny from when he was a child, okay? And he's like, this is my nanny. She's been with me for, like, 25 years, and now she nannies my kids. And, like, And then I'm like, well, who's that? And he's like, well, that's my other nanny for my, right? And he goes, you can,
Nanny for the nanny?
can never over nanny and you can never over assistant. And I said, well, that's interesting. He goes, listen, when I'm hanging with my kids, I want to do something amazing and epic and blow their minds and stuff. Like, yeah, I can drive them to school and that's fine. But those 5 or 10 minutes of school, like, isn't as impactful as if I can go and generate all this money and fly them on my private jet and take them down to Cabo. Like, it's
and have a good quality, deep connection with them through that 5 days or 1 week or whatever it is.
Yeah, and
rather than you vibrating at a low frequency around your children 24/7. And they don't even get to see your authentic self, right?
Yeah, and you're so right. And it's like, when your vibration starts to drop, you affect everyone around you. And when your vibrations start to raise, one of my mentors is Donnie Epstein, and he's one of Tony Robbins' healers. And Donnie and I have been working together for 5 or 6 years, and he's taught me so much. And so many things are about energetics of situations. And this is his language. He says there's 4 types of energy. There's energy poor, energy neutral, energy rich, and energy super rich. When you start to get into energy super rich, you can affect people that are energy poor by moving them up to neutral from energy poor. So you can move them up a level. But if I'm neutral, I can't affect your energetics. I don't have enough. You're trying to drink from it almost, and I don't have enough extra. But when you're flowing with super rich energy and passion and excitement and like purpose, you can raise a bunch of people with you. And you've seen it. You've been around. We all have friends. You guys are actually like these guys, is like, they're energy people. And when I have a plastic surgeon here. He's one of the best facial guys in the world.
I could tell based upon reading the book. You look great. So, compared to what your face has gone through.
Do you want to hear the truth? So he's worked on the Kardashians and all these people, and they come for the face. So he's one of the best guys in the world, and he's a great friend of mine. He runs Ironmans. He loves hockey. He's amazing, and he always goes, I need some Scatch energy. Like, I need some Scatch energy. He's like, give me some of that Scatch energy.
So awesome.
And he loves hanging with me because, like, we start to vibe like this, and the energy of the whole room and everybody has a great time. My point was, this is a side note. He would be at dinner with me, and he'd just be staring at my nose, like staring. And I'm like, Todd.
He's analyzing his work,
I'm
right?
like, Todd, stop it. And no, he hasn't done the work. He hasn't done the work. And he knows I broke my nose 12 times. And I did have it, after the second break, I had it fixed, and then it just got broken right away again. So I never got it fixed again. So I can't even breathe through my nose for like 20 years. Okay? But he goes, I want to do it. And I go, well, I like my nose. And he goes, well, yeah, we're not going to change how it looks. So I'm just going to let you be able to breathe. He goes, well, shit, if we're going to like let you breathe, might as well like straighten it out a little bit and stuff too. So like, I'm like, all right. So he wanted to look up it for years. He wanted to look up it for years. So I finally get in his office, and he looks up there, and I just hear him go, oh gosh. And I said, what? He goes, well, out of over 6,000 noses, I've never seen anything like that. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, like, your cartilage is bone, and your bone is not there, and like your nose goes sideways. And he's like, he goes, I would have to take a rib out of your body and make that the new bridge of your nose, because this thing's not even workable. I can't even work with it. And then he goes, we got to like push the tip out. We got to do all this stuff. And like, he's not even sure if he wants to do it.
Yeah, now he wants to. now he's like, I don't know if I want to take on this job.
This is one of the best guys in the world. And he goes, well, your nose, and he starts like talking himself out of it. And I'm like, what? You're supposed to be the best in the world. He goes, yeah, but Dave, your nose is like not good. And I'm like, oh, okay. So what's my point? My point is, we have a blast. Shit happens. I'm not going to have a perfect nose. I'm not going to be perfect looking. Who gives a shit? Like, let's just rock life. Let's rock with energetic people who have fun. And I know that's a weird segue into that, but we were talking about energy, and it just reminded me of the funny story.
We've had previous podcasts talking about raising your vibration or your frequency, energy, and how much that's underplayed.
It's everything.
You know, it's so, yeah, I mean,
Well,
you're hitting on some
here's
points
what I
that
took
we've
away
already
from
hit
it.
about.
Is like we're all influencers at some level, right? Even if you're like really negative, you're influencing people around you, whether it's your children or you know, people in your community or just in your surrounding. And so, and like even when we were talking before about like, man, you know, like getting on big stages and things like that, it's like, sometimes we recluse back to like, well, you know, I just kind of want to get rich behind the scenes. I don't want to be in the face, you know, of all that stuff, right? We were talking about that. It's like, but you have such a gift and you're already an influencer, and it's like, the more influence you have, the more impact you can make, you know? And so, you know, that's kind of what I get out of this whole story is like, we're all influencers. It's like, how much impact do you want to make? Because that's going to dictate how great your life is too. Because look at how much our lives have changed from the influence that we've created just in the last couple years. How much more influence, how great will our lives be with providing even more influence by continuing to serve, to level that up, right? It's more fulfilling and it's more rewarding.
And I'll show this on the whiteboard later too.
That whiteboard. He needs that whiteboard.
But here's the cool thing about what you said.
That's just your passion, dude. That's just coming out. I love that.
Thank you. But what you were alluding to is like, there's part of you that doesn't want to step out. You like doing it the way that you're doing it and stuff, right? But
well, somebody close to me said, man, I'd really like to speak on stages and all this stuff. And I'm just like, he goes, what do you want to do? And I said, what word did I use? It wasn't recluse. Basically I was like, dude, I don't care to be known. Like for me, it's, I wanted to, you know, I'm currently looking at farmland right now, you know, 25 acres close to where we live. And it's like that's, I want to move my family there and just have a, you know, tight knit. What am I doing? Am I tapping something here? Yeah. But move my family away, and I mean, it's just 30 minutes outside of St. George, so we still pop in and out of the office and stuff. But I was like, I don't really ever care to be known. Yeah. You know, I just want to be financially secure and protect and provide for my family. Mm-hmm. You know, to me, that's the most important thing. And then even you, just as we came in, you talk about your buddy. Yeah, he doesn't really care to be known. He's successful. And you're like, that's a cop-out, dude. And I was like, oh, shit. Here we go. Well, but
we will have events with thousands of people there, or 1,000 or whatever.
Well,
and
right.
and I'm like, I wonder what it'd be like to be on stage that big, right? And Trev's like, I don't even know if I want that. And it's like, dude, but he has a gift and I have a gift, and it's like, we need to, the more influence we have, the more impact we make, the more great life we live. Like, that's my theory, right?
What I feel is, I just feel like you don't even have a choice.
Yeah.
You're chosen, and not everybody is chosen to be a leader, and not everybody's chosen to be a coach. Like, I have my friends go, I don't know how you do what you do. I would be destroyed if I hear some of the stories you hear and like get swung around with all these different emotions and problems, and you know, and it's not always negative, but like when people come to me, it's not usually when they're at a 10 out of 10. Yeah. They're at a 1 or 2 out of 10. They're not reaching out and saying, hey, I made this. Or they're at a 7 out of 10 going, how do I make another million? Or how do I do that? So like, I get the two ends of the spectrum. But what's interesting is, I had one client, and it was a woman, and she's going through a brutal divorce. Her husband was a narcissist and really holding her kids over, turned the kids against her, had her mom testify against her in court. Like, everyone turned on her. Yeah. And we're talking about how sometimes the energy has to shift. These traumas have to happen in order for us to like be realigned into a true purpose, right? And that might be a divorce. That might be a bankruptcy. That might be an injury.
A loss of a business.
Or loss of a business, or whatever. That wasn't
the right business.
And if it was the right business and it was the right purpose, you'd be crushing it, serving people and like loving it. But if you're hating your job, there's probably, this is a sign. And the sign starts small. They're little nudges, they're little whispers, there's little feelings like, oh man, I got to shift something here. And then there's also things like big, huge shots. It's like, you're not listening. Like, I've had the engine light on your car for like 30,000 miles and you haven't taken it in to like look at it. I look at the engine light like something needs to be paid attention to here. Okay, so if that's my kids, if something weird is going on and like a weird random anomaly, I'm like, we got to focus some attention here. Like, what's going on? And then
there's some maintenance needed.
There's some maintenance. Yeah. But if you just keep ignoring it and shove it under the rug and shoving it down, it doesn't go away.
Yeah.
And guess what? How much energy do you think it takes to put one hand down there and keep that secret or that darkness that you don't want to confront or face? How long do you think that takes energy to hold that down? So out of your 100 units, let's say every single day you're using 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 units to hide your secret or to not listen,
address that problem
or not address
whatever,
it or whatever. So I call those danglers. As far as like the multiple things of that might be not doing your taxes, and you're like, shit, I got to do those taxes. Like every day that song is playing in your head. Right, we've all been there. So
but you give yourself credit because you have good intentions. Because you say,
well,
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that this weekend. This weekend passes. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it on Wednesday. Wednesday comes. So you give yourself credit for having an intention to do something, but then you never follow through with the intention.
Correct. And you're like, man, I'm just feeling tired lately. Like, I don't know why I'm so overwhelmed. Well, you got 50 of those little things bugging you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I should have that talk with my kid about his grade. Like, I really do need. Well, you know what? He's a good kid. Like, that's not. Well, maybe. Well, no. This is what happens. And I'm speaking because it's all happened to me. Like every one of these things. In the book, we talk about the big things, but I'm talking about real life for everybody that's listening, and you guys get it.
But the big thing didn't happen by itself. It happened incident after incident after incident after incident, and then finally, say however, again, it doesn't matter what anybody believes, God came down and said, you have to go through this now, right? Yeah. In order, you're so stubborn that you're not listening to all the small maintenance lights that come on. So we're just going to go ahead and blow the engine. Absolutely. We're going to blow the engine and we're going to sideline you for, a year or 2 years or whatever it is so that you can work on yourself.
You have no choice.
You have no choice at that point. He had to take
Isn't
the
it
engine.
Interesting?
Yeah.
So you're taking this terrible experience. I could look at my concussions and be like, well, I was on fire. I was healthy. I was strong. I could have made millions of dollars. Like, this is whatever. And if I would have accepted the diagnosis of the doctors at the Mayo Clinic after 3 years of therapy, and they just looked me in the eye and they said, Dave, I'm sorry, but you're permanently disabled. We've done everything that we know to do. This is just how you're going to be.
Right.
And I'm 35 or 36 years old at the time. And I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean this is all you can do for me? And I'm thinking in my head really quickly, like, well, I'm 30. Like, how old am I going to live to be? 90 maybe, 80, 90?
Yeah, I read that part.
I'm like, what the hell?
I can't live like this for another,
do this.
50 years or whatever,
But then there's the rational part, and this is, so get out of rationality, because rationality is neutral, and there's nothing great in rationality. Your rational brain, my rational brain would have told me, hey, Dave, you're never going to make the NHL. It's 1 in millions.
Yeah.
Like, shut it down, buddy.
Right.
Hey, Dave, like, you're the skinniest kid I've ever seen. I was so skinny, like, so skinny. And I'm like, I'm too small. I'll never make the NHL. Or I'm in this small town. Nobody will ever find me. Who am I to coach? Who am I to write a best-selling book? Who am I to do this? Like, if I listen to the rational brain that says the odds of all those things happening are very, very, very few, then I wouldn't have done any of them. If I would have listened to the smartest doctors in the world work at the Mayo Clinic, apparently, they're smart guys. The rational brain would have said, well,
you're doomed. Deal with it.
I guess this is how it is.
Yeah.
Woe is me. This is just me. I'm the concussion guy. This sucks. This happened to me. How many people out there are living from a circumstance or an experience? And trust me, I deal with it all. Rape, trauma, everything. I deal with all this every day. And it's like, how many people have let that define them and play that victim role and mentality forever? Yeah. It's disturbing. I had one guy come up to me, and good-looking guy, and he's like, hey, like,
you can say his name was Trevor.
well, this guy said, hey, I have a problem with confidence with women, and I'd really like to find somebody, and I have to get over this. I'm like, well, where does it come from? He goes, I didn't know, and then you were doing a meditation thing with me, and I had this flash of my grandma on a playground when I was a young little boy, and she said, you're the ugliest kid I've ever seen. His own grandma. He's 52 years old now. But this thing is still somewhere lodged in his brain where he
Not
can't
somewhere.
get...
Sounds like it's taking up 90% of his bandwidth.
He can't get over it, and that has affected him his entire life. Like, sad. That's so sad.
4 decades.
It's unbelievable. So like, we have to be the gatekeepers to our mind and what we allow in and what we don't. And don't ever we've heard this before, like, don't ever take advice from somebody that's not doing the thing that they're advising you on at the highest level.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't take money advice from somebody that's broke. Don't take weight loss advice from somebody who's fat.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, just don't.
Right.
Like, one of my friends, actually, the guy who probably set this whole thing up is Chris Baden, and he goes, when you're coaching, I sit there and I'm like, he makes it so simple,
Yeah.
right? Because it's nothing groundbreaking,
Right.
but it's common sense. Then you start to put the pieces up, and I'm like, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me.
Yeah.
It's not.
Right.
I'm not wrong. So we try to overcomplicate things, and we put too much value on the things that don't really matter, and not enough value on showing up in the world as this light and this gift and this blessing to people. If you just went around the whole rest of your life and blessed people, how do you think things would turn out?
Phenomenal.
You think you'd have a lot of friends?
Yeah.
You think you'd have a great relationship?
Yeah.
You think people would want to do business with you, make love to you, be friends with you all day long?
Yeah.
So why the frick are we worried about if we have the filter on our Instagram or like whatever? I heard some podcasts are talking about her editing or getting caught, whatever you call it, photoshopping, and all this crap.
Yeah.
Like, listen, just show up and like have a purpose of like being a blessing. And this is funny. Like, I didn't grow up in church. This is all like whatever, but it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's not complicated. And if your only mission in life was to show up and help people and serve people and love them like your brother or your sister, the world would be a better place.
No doubt.
Mm-hmm. That is definitely a genius of itself, though, when people can just simplify it for people, because sometimes that's just what they need. Because you're right, we overcomplicate shit.
Well, that's
fact that you're coaching
that's a
is
way to
like-
justify not doing it. So if we make it super complicated, we don't have to address it.
Right.
Totally.
Totally true.
And we can
Right.
hold it back, right? Like if we actually said it was simple, then we would have to own the fact that we're just not addressing it.
Yeah.
Or that we're afraid.
Yeah.
Like, if I have a crutch, and I used to tell myself this when I was like stuck in my pain and my suffering, but I would say, well, if I ever get better with my head, then I'd like to do this. Or if I ever get better with my head, I'll get back in shape. Or if my brain ever heals, I'll do this.
Mm-hmm.
If this happens, then this will happen.
And all those things were real. I was a disaster. My brain did not function. I was on Alzheimer's medication. I was on pain pills. I was on Adderall. I was on, like, this is from the doctors just prescribing stuff.
Drinking,
Drinking myself to sleep because the headaches were so bad. I'd hide in my movie theater in the dark just because I couldn't deal with bright lights or loud sounds. These are all real.
Right.
But I was starting to get sick of hearing myself tell that story so many times to everybody. And like Sidney Crosby would get like a concussion, and then all the media from around the world would call Dave Scatchard because they knew I had to retire because of concussions. And then I became the concussion guy. I don't want that as my identity.
Yeah.
Right.
But I was starting to own it as my identity. It was
Yeah.
so messed up, dude. Like, the stories and the lie, like they were real circumstances.
Well, maybe just getting attention again after being in a dark place felt good. So you're like, I'll fit into that role if that's the box that you want to put me in. Let's play that role.
I blow up boxes now. I blow up stories. It's bullshit. Like, people use stories like excuses, and they're a dime a dozen.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've used that, like, oh, I've got chronic fatigue syndrome and stuff. Well, chronic fatigue, anything chronic means that things are too static. The energy is too flat.
Yeah.
Something needs to shift. So that's anything chronic. And then anything acute with pain has to do with too much information, energy, and instability. We need to bring more stability back into the system. So I'll repeat that again because it's good. So chronic is there's too much stability in the energetic system, and acute pain is not enough
Stability.
in the system. Yep.
So there's this this middle ground that you've got to try to find between acute and chronic, right? Mm-hmm. So I have to ask this question because, again, this is the one that I was going to ask like 40 minutes ago.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, We could do probably a 6-hour podcast. I'm telling you right now. There's a lot of different layers,
yeah,
a
we
lot
could
of
go.
different cool shit.
Let's
dude.
do it. I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't care. Let's
Joe,
go.
You think Joe Rogan's got a long one for 3 hours? We're gonna set the record today. But what I thought was really interesting, and I want to get your take on this. Like, there's so many people. Everybody goes through pain and struggle. That's just, if you're alive, that's just part of life, you know? And again, we have to, you know, rewrite the stories and the meaning and all that. That's going to determine how, you know, fulfilled your life is or what you can accomplish, right? But I don't think a lot of people do that. They stay in pain, they stay in misery, they stay depressed, whatever it is.
Okay, something's coming to me right now. So
Send it.
when people go into the pit and they're in their pain and in their suffering, and that's them, the energy's really dropping.
Yeah.
And I almost look at it like there's almost like ascension levels of dimensions, okay? So if we went back to that map category, the lowest level energy would be the pit, okay? So when you're in the shit, you can't even see a way out. Like,
Right.
you feel like you're
You
drowning.
just feel like this is your forever state. Nothing's going to ever get better.
Everything's negative.
Should I end it now? Shouldn't, you
yeah,
know, like that type of situation.
Yeah.
You're in the pit. You can't see through the shit.
You can't see it.
Yeah.
So then there's no way to get out because you don't have enough energy to see anything at a
Yeah.
higher level dimension. You're actually vibrating at a lower dimension where there's not a lot of options.
When you're at the bottom, you can't really see up, but when you're at the
can't
top,
see.
you can kind of see down.
Totally, and it
Yeah.
all makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever had a breakthrough and you go, oh my God, so that's why that happened.
Mhm.
If that didn't happen, then that would have happened. Right?
Mhm.
All the time.
Yeah.
But you've ascended to a higher level of vibration where you can actually make
Starts making sense.
It's coherent to you.
Connecting the dots. Yeah.
And it's incoherent at the lower levels because you can't even see the sun. You're in the shit pile, you're in the tunnel, you're in the hell, and it doesn't feel like there's an option. Okay? It doesn't. And then, like, you might have the greatest thing ever for me. And if I'm in my funk and you're like, hey man, this thing's amazing and stuff, and you're like, what?
Yeah,
I
shut the hell
discovered
up,
this,
dude.
and
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, oh, I don't even. That's
Nobody gives a
I
shit.
don't even want to hear
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I can't hear it.
Right.
My brain can't even wrap itself around what you're saying because I'm not at your level. I'm at a lower vibration, and this is all that I can see.
Mm-hmm.
I could show it to you, and you couldn't see it.
Yeah.
It's wild.
It is wild.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
So then, as we ascend, the rules, you get to start to create these new and different rules for yourself as you ascend different dimensions. And in my personal opinion, the champion awaken all-star thing that I'll show you guys on the map later is finally breaking through where you aren't in a box. You're not trying to keep up with the Joneses. You're playing the game above the rim. You're
Right.
at another level. Michael Jordans of the rules. The Michael Jordans of the world don't live by the same rules as me and you.
Yeah.
And neither does Wayne Gretzky. They're at another level. They make up their own
Yeah.
freaking demands on
yeah,
contracts
exactly.
and deals and like everything. A minor league player, NFL,
You get what you
or
get.
like NHL
Yeah.
or whatever, like the rules are different for you. Life is different.
Mm-hmm.
Plane rides, hotels, women, like whatever. It's
All
all
of it.
It's all different at a higher level.
Without a doubt.
So same thing with your business owners. Like there's business owners there right now, they're watching, they're like just barely scraping by and they're like, dude, I need a breakthrough. Like I got to figure something out. But it's creating a hunger in them that's going to give them enough energy to keep pushing through when they don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
That's a game changer. That like I don't mind pain because it's got energy in it.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And as long
absolutely.
as
here, Max. Come
if you redirect the energy anyways.
So we got a little visitor here.
Max,
He wants
Max,
to join
Max,
on the
Max,
podcast.
yeah, Max can
you wanna
join
talk on
us.
Or we'll cover up your willy.
Yeah, exactly.
He does. Okay. I wish Mom was home because she could put you away.
He's like, I'm
but,
coming in. He heard us in here.
Yeah.
He's not staying out.
So the question that I had is like, why do we choose? So when you had the incident on the ice, when you died, you saw the light, you went to heaven, you spoke to God and said, you know, what do I need to do? Share the message, right? Yeah. But it was ecstasy. It was pure joy, bliss, endless love, light, you know, this experience that you've never felt before, right? But even in that, you still wanted to come back. And I don't think people understand that literally, no matter the struggle, the pain, whatever it is that they're dealing with, if their life was taken right now and they felt endless love, bliss, light, you know, all this stuff, joy, all the things that they're not currently experiencing right now, they would still choose to go back to that pain and that misery and that shit. So as much as they want out of it, the moment that they could get out of it, they would want to get back in it because you wanted to come back. But why would we choose, if we're all trying to find love, light, joy, bliss on this earth, and then you end up finding the thing that everybody says that they want, you want to go back to the pain. You want to go back to the, you know, the struggle.
I don't
Why
know.
would we choose
Okay, well,
to come back to earth, to that pain and struggle that you are currently experiencing in your life?
Well, I have to be totally honest. Like, I almost didn't come back, and the only thing that brought me back was my kids.
Mm-hmm.
If I didn't have that vision, I was gone, and I would have no regrets. I lived hard. I played hard. I love my life.
But there's even been situations like people jumping off of the Golden Gate Bridge. There's been people that have survived that they've interviewed, and they said halfway through the jump, I regretted it.
Wow.
Like I wish that I hadn't done it.
Well,
you know,
yeah.
but they survived. There's very few people that survive that fall,
Right.
but they've interviewed them, and like immediately when they make that, they're in, again, pain and misery, depressed, and they make that decision to jump and kind of try to end it. There's a regret within just boom, that fast. And it just makes me wonder, like, why we would choose to come back or immediately
That might be a different
regret.
situation, obviously, where they're choosing it. His was actually an injury,
but again,
right?
it's very similar. He
Right.
chose to come back when he was at a place where it was.
Well, let's just stay in the pain a little bit.
Yeah.
So, like, think about the things that you're most proud of. Like, the thing that you didn't think you were going to be able to do. Might be hiking a mountain. It might be a workout. It might be
running a marathon and running a business or whatever, creating a family.
If the pain wasn't there on the journey, it wouldn't feel so damn good when you make it. If you ran a marathon, you never had suffered like during the marathon. Like, who cares? Everyone
just did 37 miles on my 37th birthday like a couple months ago.
Wow,
Yeah,
dude,
that was pretty cool.
that's amazing.
Yeah, it was
I've
fun.
always wanted to
It was
do like an
fun.
ultra or something. I've only run halves. I've never run a full.
Everybody in this room was with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, Corey was driving the RV, Steph was filming it, and Kel did the first half with me with zero training.
Yeah.
You know, he's
I
just
wanted
like,
to do
yeah.
the. I want to do the whole thing, man. My left foot, I couldn't put no more.
Yeah.
I couldn't put any more
it was a
impact
cool
on
experience. We started literally at midnight the second it was my 37th birthday, and we got done at like 9:30 or something like that, somewhere right around there.
Dude,
Yeah, it was super cool.
I love you even more
Yeah.
now.
And I decided to do it like a month before, and I'm not a runner. You know, like
That's
again,
sick.
there I go. I'm not a runner, right? I put that. Well, that's because
You
I
are
didn't.
now.
Yeah, I didn't practice running.
You are now.
I can't be anything that I don't practice, right?
But okay, so here we're going another level right now.
I'm
Buckle
all
up.
fucked.
Okay, so let me ask you this: were there times during your run where you didn't think you were going to make it?
Yeah, I even turned to Kel. I said, well, not that I wouldn't make it because I already said I'm going to get it done one way or another, but I did turn to Kel between, I think it was like mile 15 and 20, and I said, bro, I think I'm going to have to walk the last 17 miles. Like my back, my feet, you know, and I thought literally.
I was like,
gonna,
cool, man. I could probably do a little more with you if we stop running and start walking.
We were taking breaks at every 10 miles. We'd get in the RV, water, food, you know, caffeine, whatever we needed. And then when I got to mile 20 and hopped in the RV, I got a little food, you know, I put CBD cream on, icy hot patch on my back, changed my clothes, shoes and stuff, and pretty much ran from mile 20 to 30 almost. So I probably ran 7 or 8 of those next 10 miles and at a completely different state and a second wind or whatever you want to call it.
What
right?
were you? And I'm sorry for like asking all the questions, but it's like I'm trying to figure out the patterns to success, and I love to hear these magical stories because you'll never forget that day for the rest of your life.
No.
And you wouldn't appreciate if there wasn't the pain of the journey along the way, right? So what made you keep going when it felt like you weren't going to be able to get it done? And what are the things that you were thinking about?
Well, the reason why I did it is because I wanted to meet my mind. I wanted my mind to tell me that you can't do it, and that, you know, and I wanted to face it head on. So I wanted to put myself in a very tough situation because
See what you're made of, yeah.
Yeah, to kind of see. I wanted my mind to yell at me to tell me to quit, and I wanted to face it and continue to push past it.
Cool.
That was like, it's very rare that people put themselves in situations where they know what's going to happen and they want it to happen, but when it starts happening, it feels a little bit different than the thought of like, hey, I want to meet my mind, when my mind started saying all that stuff. But I just wanted a true challenge. I wanted to test my will. I wanted to test my mind and see if I can overcome that little voice that's telling me to pull back.
And the little voice is the survivor of the mind that's not meant for like expansion and uncertainty. It wants to keep you in certainty.
Yeah.
It wants to regulate you and be like, let's survive this, right?
Right.
The greatness in you is above that level of the rational survivor mind. So how many times have you like started pushing in your brains like, you know what, we should just maybe like pace ourselves here.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Right. Totally.
It's not meant for optimization. It's meant for like neutrality and like and keeping you
Comfort and safety.
Comfortable and safe.
Yeah.
And that's just in our DNA wiring. So I guarantee you that the Michael Phelpses of the world, and I know Michael, he has a place in Arizona here, like his brain overrides that consistently because he has to break world records.
Yeah.
His rational brain would go, well, the world record's that, so like let's try to get close to that.
That's a world record. That's the best to ever do it. That's not
in
me.
the history of mankind in the world.
Yeah.
Right.
So like what has to happen? You have to find another level about any level that you've ever been comfortable with in your life, in your business, in your relationship. Like fight for it. Don't just throw in the towel and let the survivor win.
Right.
So the best of the best that I know consistently raise the minimum standard of survivor like higher and higher and higher because they overrode it. Now you know that you can run 37. That wasn't even in your wheelhouse. You didn't even know
Farthest
if you could
before
do it.
was 5.6 miles.
It's freaking incredible. And it reminds me of the story of this guy named Harvey.
I just figured if I didn't do it that year, I'm only getting older. It's going to get harder. So I better get it done.
It's so bad. I'm glad. Exactly. You don't want to do it when you're 50,
I don't want to wait till I'm
right?
50. Yeah.
So it reminds me of this story that I met. And what's this guy's name? Harry. It's Harry or Harvey. And I met him at this event. And actually, Donnie Epstein was the one that introduced me. And he goes, hey, you guys are going to like each other. And I look at this guy, and he's quite heavy, slightly overweight, probably 60-something years old. And Donnie's like, he swam the English Channel twice. And I'm like, what? This guy? Like, he doesn't look like an athlete or anything.
You mean he floated the English Channel twice as a buoy?
And he used to be part of the Maharishi's meditation thing, if I'm not mistaken. Like, he was like a white guy hanging out with him, and like it's a really fascinating man.
He was one of those guys that could tap into his mind.
And but he's just a normal human. A bunch of his buddies that were older, I think over 50 or over 55, wanted to get together and do a relay and swing the English Channel. So all these old dudes make it across.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, I'm down for that. So to practice, they swam around the island of New York. And he's like, yeah, it was pretty hard, but like I did it, and like I was proud of myself, but I got my teammates, so I only have to swim like X amount of the leg of the race or the swim. And they write a big article in the New York Times about him and how he's inspiring all this like older generation of men
to push themselves.
And he's like really proud of it and everything like that. And then he's getting ready to go to, is it London or where's it? Yeah, England.
Yeah, I don't know.
That was my blonde moment. Sorry.
Yeah.
But he says, I'm booking my flights and I'm calling all the guys and
we're gonna do it.
I'm like, fellas, like, let's get everything dialed in. We got our boat, we got our captain, we got our nutrition team and everything. And like, yeah, and they all bailed. Everyone quit on them. And there were all these articles and like press had been notified in London that all these old guys are coming and stuff. And he's like, well, I made a promise, like I kind of had to go, but he's like, I now I was terrified. I've never swam that far and in choppy waters and sharks and like all this stuff because I had never done anything like that. So he goes over there and they start swimming across the English Channel. And what he didn't know was the current was really pushing him like
Sideways.
far off course. And it was getting really choppy. So if they didn't finish it within 9 hours or something like that, I can't remember the number. It's probably longer than that. They were going to have to pull him. Like it was too dangerous. And he's swimming, and every once in a while he'd roll over and get his like sports gel or all his nutrition stuff and waters and everything. And he's swimming and swimming, and he rolls over and he's like, "Hey, like we got to almost be there, right?" Or no, sorry. He asked for some more food, and they're like, "We're out." Like he'd eaten all his stuff and drank all the water because they had paced it for a
X
9 hour
time.
swim, not a 13. He'd been blown 4 hours off course. His first time swim. And he's like, this thought went through my head, like, I can't swim another 4 hours. Like, I'm dying right now. And what the point of this whole long story, I apologize, is that he had to find some more energy. His energy was done.
Depleted.
Your energy at mile 20 was borderline. It was kind of running out.
That's literally what it was.
Okay. So then he found a higher purpose because he started to think, well, how am I going to finish this race? And he's like, I had 200 letters from older guys saying that I inspired them and that they're going to be watching my race. They're going to be cheering me on and wishing that it was something that they could do. Then he thought about my trainer and then about the boat captain and then my wife who I put through hell while I was trying to train for this thing. And about all the people waiting on the shore for me to show up and the media cameras and stuff. And he goes, I just said a prayer and I said, God, like, if this is where you want me to go, like, give me the energy and strength to do so. And he said he flew through those last 4 hours of swimming through the waves that were getting, the swells were getting bigger. The boat wasn't almost able to be out there guiding him. And Coast Guard was like, hey, what are you guys doing? Like, are you coming in or what? Like, like, no, he's still going. He's still going. Yeah. That's unbound energy. And before we started talking today, I just started to share that the bound energy of Dave or Cale or Trevor is like, it's finite. There's only so much that I have.
Right.
But when I start to make it about the bigger system, then I get access to the unbound energy of the bigger system. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah. Your spirit can override your
It's not
physical,
my little box anymore. I'm playing with the big, the universal box, humanity's box. And then I started to share how the challenge gave me the resources and the people to help me get through it, where my buddy just ran the Facebook ads and like I didn't know how to run a challenge. And all of a sudden we're doing it over the internet and thousands of people are coming in. Like I had no idea. I was building slides like 5 minutes before I'm about to go live. And then I just hit it. I did 7 days of that. I was barely sleeping. I didn't know how to do any of this stuff. I was working all night long. I'd do it at 7 a.m. It'd be over. I'd be like so exhausted. And I'm like, okay, what do we got to do for tomorrow? And I'd start working on, we had a day between. But I was using the unbound energy because the message was supposed to go to more people. And it just worked. So if your why is big enough, the how shows up.
Right.
Every time. And you know, I just get, sorry, I get really passionate, as you can tell.
Yeah, I love it.
I get excited.
You know, Corey told us, you know, a little bit about you because, you know, you guys have spoke more than we've spoke to you until today, right? Yeah. I think we've got you beat now, Corey. Yeah, so.
I love that guy, by the way.
Yeah, dude. I mean, everything that he said about you is true. And sometimes it's hard to believe because Corey's just a nice good guy, and so when he says, "Oh man, this person," you know,
Corey loves everybody. Yeah,
he loves everybody,
which is awesome.
Like, okay, cool, Corey.
Thanks, buddy.
He's just, you know, loves his chickens and his cats.
You're
and,
on the next podcast,
all this
Corey.
stuff at his house, and so it's like, oh, this is another guy that Corey loves. But
we also meet a lot of people.
Yeah,
and it is. And everybody's got like their level of authenticity to them, right? But it's like instantly, I bet Trevor would agree with me. It's like when we meet you today, it's like, this dude's like next level authentic, right?
So. Dude, it's been amazing. Just getting to know you. It's been amazing reading your book.
Thank you.
You know, like I'm telling you guys listening right now, you have to go get The Comeback. You know, there's so many different stories in there that I know for a fact that you can look at whatever situation that you're facing right now and you can relay some of the struggle that you're dealing with some of the struggles that Dave has dealt with and overcome. In some case, your struggles might be not as much. It may be more, but I'm telling you right now, you're going to be able to tie those two things together. And then as you start kind of getting towards the end of the book, you can see that whatever you're fighting or whatever that you're dealing with, you will eventually pop out to the other side, and everything that you're currently struggling, you have to go through that to become the individual that you're supposed to become. And I'm telling you, there is light, love, joy, bliss. All of that stuff is there once you go through the shit that you're supposed to go through. Let it forge you. Sit in whatever you need to sit in. Deal with whatever it is you need to deal with. But also be on the lookout for the signs, the signals, the things that are trying to let you know that there's some maintenance that's needed in whatever area of your life, whether it is physical maintenance. Maybe you've let yourself go over the last 18 months because the gym did shut down for a month or two, so you just never got back into routine, right?
Right.
Maybe it is your finances. Maybe it is your relationship. Maybe there's something in your business that you need to maintain. But whatever your struggle is right now, put your head down and go through it, because by the time you hit the end of the book, you'll see that all that pain and all that struggle wasn't for anything. Mm-hmm. It was for the guy that you just heard over the last hour and 15 minutes.
Has it been that long already?
That struggle created the Dave that you guys heard today. Dave wouldn't be Dave today if he didn't have all of the pain from the past. And so you might be going through current pain, but your 2-year, 3-year, 5-year out, that's your Dave.
Here's what
current Dave, right?
Here's the thing about business, okay? Because this is a business podcast, but we're talking a lot about,
your life
enriching
has to do
who you
with
are.
Business, right? Yeah, exactly.
And at the end of the day, business is all about strategy and it's all about tactics, right? And we have these, and some people are more tactical, some people are more strategical, but like, it's taken us a long time to get to this point in business where we figured out, because we don't figure out for a long time. And I think most people don't either. They go into business for all these, selfish or self-interested reasons. And it's all about, I hate to say greed, but it kind of is. It's like, I just want to get rich. I want to do all these things, right? But when you figure out that you are a part of the strategy, making you is a part of the strategy. It's like that's when you really start to hit these new levels to make more conscious choices at higher levels. Like you talked about, you're in this pit, right? Like someone could come show you the way, but you can't even see it because you're not able to make that choice because you're not at that higher level of consciousness yet, right? And so make you a part of the strategy, right, of your business. And I would have never figured that out if I didn't go through my divorce and break up a family and have to go through therapy and, go on this journey with Trevor on new personal development and then meeting guys like Dave. And so if anybody took anything away from this episode, I hope that people take away I got to make me a part of the strategy of this business.
Well, there's no other, right? You're the most important in your life. And when you act as if, then you can give more to the maintenance things that we just talked about, your business that needs maintenance, your relationship, if you don't care enough about you to move your body, to be healthy, that's a body that you're going to have to live in with forever, right? A mind that you have to live with forever. Yeah. So you might as well figure out how to game your mind. You might as well figure out how to make your body move the best that it can move so that you can feel as best as you can feel so that all of these other areas can flourish. Once you get you figured out, these other areas will, by default, start to grow as well. Yeah. So maybe the maintenance check that you have in your life right now is you. Yeah. Maybe it's not this in the business, her in the relationship or him in the relationship, right. Pointing the fingers.
Projecting.
Yeah,
right.
Projecting your issues on other people. Maybe you're the issue. Mm-hmm. And once you look in the mirror and you start addressing you, some of these other issues will be a lot easier to address, or maybe will just resolve themselves. And maybe you've seen that in some of your coaching. The bullshit that you tell yourself is the problem goes away when you deal with you.
It's spot on. And people will come and share, well, my business is suffering because of COVID. Well, their chances are that there were things going on before COVID that could have helped you get through COVID. Yeah, if it was so
great, you should have insulated yourself and had enough reserves set up.
Well, my relationship sucks because, and I don't know if so let's go there. Why not? One of my favorite things that I teach in relationship is people will be like, well, you know, my spouse cheated on me. I gave them like everything that I had, and you know, when we start probing, there's a good chance that there was something that they were missing that they sought outside of the relationship. And I always make a joke that I'm like, I never coached I'll do man and woman example. Like I've never coached a man who cheated on his wife and said, you know what? Like my wife was just giving me way too many blowjobs. She was giving me too many blowjobs. I had to go inside the relationship.
Yeah.
You know what?
It was wearing me down.
You know
so
what?
I had to test another one.
It was exhausting. I hated it. Or you know what? She gave me too many words of gratification, and she just made me feel so special about all the hard work I did, and I hated that. So I had to go find it somewhere else.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or on the woman's side, it's like, you know, he's just spent too much quality time with me and really paid attention to me. And
he was listening to me when I was talking.
He was too present with me.
Yeah.
Right? Right? But and these are
buys me too many flowers.
These are silly examples, but it's real life. And it's like, if the energetics is right, if you're showing up in your relationship enthusiastic and excited and not taking it for granted, if you're showing up excited about your body and your health, if you're showing up for your kids and you're excited to play with them, like energy and excitement can override almost anything. And it's like, we've all done this. I bought stuff from somebody's business. It wasn't a great business. It wasn't a great product, but they were so passionate about it.
yeah.
So excited about it.
You're like, I like this person. I want to support him.
I want to support them.
That's really
Right.
We've all done that.
Yeah.
But if you're sitting there going, oh, this fucking business is like an anchor and I'm going down with it and stuff, like, how do you think your clients, even if you don't even know them, they can feel that weird energy? I'll give you another quick example. I was selling real estate as a real estate agent when I first started to be able to think after my brain was broken. And I had a client, and I had a hockey friend client that was going through a lot of stuff. And he was going through a divorce, and he was going through drug and alcohol rehab and lost a bunch of money and all this stuff. And I had another client that was looking to buy a house. And his house was like $3 million, and this person's budget was $3 million. I'm like, well, let's just go get him a house. And somebody called me and said, hey, they're willing to give this place away. Like, just go up there and make an offer, and like, it's yours. Like, you can get a good deal. You can get a good deal. You could steal it. And I walked my client into the front door, and it's a beautiful mansion, Scottsdale, Arizona. And my client goes, man, weird energy in this house. It's like a nice house on paper. And he starts walking around. And he's like, I don't even want to see the backyard.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's got this sick pool and like water slide and everything. And he's like, no. He's like, this isn't it. And he turned around and walked out. That's how powerful energy can be. He didn't know that this guy was going through stuff. I didn't say a word.
Yeah.
There's no evidence.
Yeah.
But that vibration. Have you ever walked by somebody and there's like just a creepy vibe or a weird vibe?
Yeah.
Something's off with that person.
We all have a resonance. And depending on what type of state or mood you're in or what type of energy is in, that's what you're projecting to the world. That's like the ripple that's going out to everyone and everything, whether it's on the phone. We've done like, what do you call that? Like healing almost across. I was doing this work with a lady in Hawaii, and I was talking with her on her strategy call, and I could feel like somebody was like, I felt like I was choking.
Yeah.
And I said to her, listen, I got to stop you right now. I said, I'm having trouble breathing. I feel like I'm like something's strangling me. Does that make any sense to you? And she goes, my ex-husband's in jail trying to kill me, and he was strangling me. I could feel that
pain
through the Zoom. It was locking up my throat.
It's wild.
So now this is like, I don't ever tell people that I do this work, but I have some energy stuff and healing stuff that I've been able to tap into. And we started to do this exercise with her, and she started projectile vomiting out all of this stuck energy and everything here that was stuck. It was like letting go, and it just went like puked everywhere.
That's crazy.
Wow.
She just starts sobbing, and she goes, I have not been able to shake that since he did it. And it was like 3 years or something. And she's like, it's gone.
Holy cow.
That's trippy, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's how powerful the energetic field is. And I truly believe, and I've been working on the field and playing with the field gives us information. And if we're tuned into it, and I'll share on the board how you can do this. You can actually affect and influence and manifest things like when the energetics.
But it takes
right in
time,
the
right?
field.
It takes reps to get to that point. It's not like you could show somebody and then next thing you know, they're boom, just immediately able to manifest, just like meditating, right? We talked about me doing it, every morning for 10 minutes, and you do it for
It
an
takes
hour, minute.
reps, but let me tell you, like, I gotta
You gotta
pause
practice.
I gotta pause you because
Yeah.
without an awareness that this is even possible,
Yeah.
it won't happen if you're not aware that it can happen. But I just told you a story that's a true story, and now part of you is thinking, well, what is this energetic field and what's in it and how can I influence it and what kind of energy am I putting into the energetic field and what am I asking from the energetic field? There's an organizing intelligence that wants to help you and help me, help Kale, help everybody. But if we're not even aware of it, or we can't even call it by name, or we don't even believe in it, then sorry, you don't just don't
It doesn't
have access
exist to you.
Yeah.
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 So a lot of what we do is an awareness thing, and I tell my clients from day one, like, I only deal in reality. I only deal in reality, like what's really happening, like what the business numbers really are. And this is a true story. Imagine like God's like sitting there going, okay, I want to help you.
Yeah.
And he goes, what's really going on? He said, well, I'm a little overweight. Okay. The truth is you're 450 pounds. And if you don't change, something's going to happen. I'm big boned.
Yeah.
So I'm a little overweight. That's what you're telling the world. That's what you're telling everybody. You're not telling them the truth that you're 300 pounds overweight. Okay.
Maybe you said you're a little overweight too many times, and
Well, here
it started that way.
Well, yeah, partly, but here's the interesting part. It's like I call it the gap, or like the real gap. So if I say, well, I'm doing okay, and I'm not, I'm really not doing okay. This is how big the problem is, but I'm saying the problem's this big. Well, God or the organized intelligence or universe, whatever you believe in, fills that gap, says, okay, I'll help you. But you only told us this much, but it's really this much. So it doesn't do it. It doesn't get it across the finish line. Does that make sense?
When you're not being honest
and real,
even with yourself.
So you don't judge the gap. You don't judge the pain. You don't judge the mistake or the shame. We all have it. We just acknowledge it and be like, whoa, okay, I got some work to do. Actually, I don't have some work to do. I got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
And then I ask, you know what? I'm 450 pounds overweight. Oh, well, I'll help you with that. And it fills the whole gap. When I was doing the challenges, I said, God, I have no idea how I'm going to do this. I got thousands of people showing up live. I don't even know if my internet's good. I don't know if my mics are right. I don't know if my lighting's right. But I need big amounts of help. I need people to show up in my life and help me do this.
You said the gap's wide.
It's a
Fill that shit. Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing. Help me. Facebook guy shows up. Friends show up. Other coaches like, hey, try this, try this. How do I make an offer? Okay, do this. Like, wild.
You know what I relate that to? In your book, when you said you wish you would have spoke up more. You were trying to be a team player so much so that when they said, we're going to do this, we're going to shift you here, we're going to do that, and you're just like, I got to be a team player. I got to never telling the truth about what you want. Yeah. Right. And even in the situation earlier with the woman that wouldn't ask a guy, she wasn't asking for what she wanted.
Right.
So she wasn't getting what she wanted because she never asked for it.
In your relationship, in your relationship, you can go around and like be you're either blessing somebody or cursing somebody.
Yeah.
That's one thing. So if you're holding a grudge against somebody, you're cursing them. You're not blessing them.
Right.
So like, let's just say you and your spouse get in an argument and he hurt your feelings or she hurt your feelings because she did something to you, but you don't want to say it. So you just shove it down and pretend it didn't happen. And it happens again. And you start to get what you tolerate. And they might be doing something that's really hurtful to you, but you never ever share what you really want or what you really need. Keith Cunningham, a great business strategist, was sharing a story with us, and he was actually the original Rich Dad from Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Oh,
okay. Robert Kiyosaki. Yeah. Not many people know that.
I didn't know that.
Was that
I read his books too.
Was that the guy that has the private island in the book?
No.
It wasn't that a Keith or a Kevin or something like that?
That was a Washington, yeah.
Okay.
Kevin and Kyle Washington.
Okay.
Yeah. But what he said was he was on this date and he knew he really loved this, like this girl. He'd been in a divorce before, but he met this girl, and he's like, man, I think she's the one and stuff. And like they have this like 4-hour dinner, their first date, and he leaves her with a napkin and a pen, and he says, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the bathroom, and I'm going to go outside and get some fresh air, and I want you to write down every single thing that you need to feel loved and appreciated by somebody for the rest of your life, because I need to know this, because I think you're really special. I want to be with you. And he left. He comes back, and he's reading through her list, and there were things on that list he would never have thought about in a million years, right? Let's just say, for example, well, I'd love it if my husband brought me a coffee every morning. Like, right? Something small and simple. But it's what she valued. It was important to her. And then she looked at him and said, you know what? Why don't you write down what would make you happy for the rest of your life, or what you'd need from a wife or a spouse? And they did that. This is their first date. They've been married ever since.
That's so cool.
But they know the keys to the kingdom.
Right.
If I know what you want and I know what you want, you told me, I don't have to be playing this guessing game.
Then if you don't give it, then you're just an asshole.
Then you're an asshole.
Just both people being vulnerable and honest, you know?
Like, why don't we all do this in our relationship? Like, I haven't even done this yet, and I teach it. You know what I mean? So it's when you tell the truth about what you want, no matter good or bad or whatever, it comes.
Yeah, it opens things up.
It gives the possibility of that happening. Where before, if you're lying and saying, no, I don't need that, or I don't need a man, or I don't need a man to get by in my life. Okay, voila, presto. That's what you get.
Well, sometimes people just be not like, hey, are you hungry? Well, they don't want to eat at somebody's house. Or, hey, do you want a water? No, I'm good. Right. When you're like thirsty as shit, but then you're going to stay thirsty as shit.
But who taught us this?
Yeah, just be polite.
Yeah. I don't want to inconvenience anybody.
Right.
You're not. I'm discounting your ability to give a blessing to me.
Yeah.
If I'm trying to give you something, you say, you know what, I'm okay. You're thinking you're blessing me by not inconveniencing me, but I'm actually looking for a chance to give.
Well, we're told as a kid, don't go to your friend's house and eat.
Yeah.
Don't go over to, don't cause...
Or don't be greedy.
I write about it in my book a little bit about being a giver and a receiver and how it's reciprocal, but I'm actually really bad at it too, right? I'm bad at receiving.
I'm bad at receiving.
I really am.
Yeah. And I actually have to reframe that. I used to be bad at receiving. Yeah. I'm much better.
Yeah. I've been consciously working on it, but I'm like, I just got to actually...
It's funny.
Accept more, right?
I did a meditation. I have a meditation program called the Mindflow Method. And I did a meditation this morning called Receiving Rewards. Yeah. And I made that meditation for people to allow, instead of give, to allow the blessings and the gifts to come to them. And it rains down, So literally I have in the meditation like boxes of gifts and love and abundance and money and relationship that is floating down into your essence.
How much has meditating changed your life?
It has kept my connection to God that I felt when I passed, and I lost it when I came back, and I was screaming and cursing God because I was wondering why he was punishing me. What I later realized when it was revealed to me that I wasn't being punished at all, I was being trained. Mm-hmm. I needed to understand desperation and hopelessness and anxiety and fear and depression because the people that I was going to be helping in the future would be coming from that exact place. Yeah. And if I never lived there for 3 years,
and you can't talk on it authentically.
I can't teach it because I don't know. I don't even know what that is. I never had depression. I never had anxiety. I just things happened pretty quick for me. I made the NHL at 20, 21 years old. And it was a rocket ship ride. And I had tons of injuries and stressful things and having to overcome all the time. But I never got hopeless or I never got desperate ever.
You were just probably always busy. Just from one thing to another, call here, we're moving there, whatever.
So the greatest curse in my life, which was the injury, turned into the greatest blessing in my life was the injury. Because it was that big thump that I needed, that the universe gave me to realign me and position me perfectly into living my purpose. And as I got into alignment, and then I got rid of the masks and armor, and I got authentic and real, and I started to live as David, this little gentle soul that loves people and wants to help. Whew, just magic. It was like a rocket ship. I finally was in the right slipstream. I wasn't swimming upstream and grinding it and trying to force it. I was being smart and finesse and authentically aligned. And once you get in alignment and you live that, that's it's not a show. You're walking the walk, you're talking the talk, you're doing what you say you do. it's magic.
Yeah.
And you guys know, like you were telling me you're grinding it for a while and grinding it for a while. And then like finally something clicked for you in your business. And now you're showing up and serving, and you know, Instagram, like whatever, 100,000 followers, like there's 100,000 people plus that you can directly influence with blessings every day just by taking that couple-hour flight down here and spending money, investing money in your film crew and all these wonderful people around you and your vision. You get to bless that whenever you want.
Yeah.
Like that's why you can't stop. That's why you can't play small. You're called for so much more. If you weren't called for something great, you wouldn't be hungry all the time. I know this because I went to one of my mentors. I said, "What's wrong with me?" I go, "I got everything I want, and I'm starving."
Yeah.
Bud,
Your bank account might have been full, but your soul was empty.
you're not meant to play small.
Yeah.
You are not designed to play small.
Yeah.
You got to play big.
Yeah.
It's what you're called to do. And as soon as you own that shit, magic.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you on the board what happens after that. It's like crazy when you see it diagrammed. You're like, whoa, this changes.
Yeah. One of the most depressing moments of my life was when I hit my goal. All I wanted to do is build a dream home for my family, make $1 million in 1 year, take home, right? Hit it, and I'm sitting in my house drinking. I'm just like, this sucks. You know, it's like, that's it. It's like you reach this level of you reach this level, and you're there for a little bit, and then you just start submitting to the comfort or something, right? And then you're like, fuck
No
this,
pressure anymore,
right?
yeah,
And I was so grateful that we've started doing more and doing bigger and focusing on others more, and that's literally been the game changer for me, right?
Me too.
So that's so cool.
How
Should we do
people-
the board?
Well, yeah, let's.
Yeah.
But I want to.
I want to do. Yeah.
We'll wrap this up, guys. Just so that you understand, just as we said earlier in the podcast, you just go to Real Business Owners on YouTube. We're gonna have Dave kind of sketch this thing out for you, give you more of a visual aspect to it. You know, a lot of people are more visual learners, right? You know, it's hard to listen, especially if you're in the car driving
Is
or
it?
whatever.
How long is it? Maybe it'll be a part 2 if it's.
Well, I got sort of 2 pieces, so I'll blow through it. I don't want to like drag things out, and I think we've touched on a lot of the base points here, so you guys kind of have the general idea. But to see it mapped out, you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
Okay.
it all makes sense.
Yeah.
So
I'm looking forward to it.
how do people connect with you? How do people get your book? You know, if they're interested in working with you in any aspect, you know, personally, business wise, whatever, where's the best place that you can find Dave?
Yeah, thank you for that. You know, I'm easy to find on Instagram and Twitter at Dave Scatchard. We have allstarcoaching.com. I'd like to provide, like I said, this early bird special pricing for this live event I'm having.
Oh,
Yeah, I was just gonna bring that up.
So it's December 3rd, 4th, and 5th in Arizona.
In Scottsdale.
Yeah.
I'm investing a lot of money in bringing in some real players here to help me teach. And this will be fun. It'll be exciting. It's Scottsdale. I'll take a little vacation, family trip. We got room blocks for everybody.
And it's probably warmer than wherever
wherever you're listening from
because it's
now.
one of the warmer places in the
We've talked
US.
about sponsoring it and being,
Yeah.
and being here too.
It's
So
going to be amazing. So, you know,
How do they get information on that?
yeah, I'm going to give you guys a link that you can post with this podcast.
So the information that he's talking about right now will be in the show notes or in the bio of the podcast where you guys could go, just so that you guys know. The ticket's usually $1,000 to get your ass in that seat. And Dave, prior to getting on, agreed to do it for $297 for anybody that's listening and really want to figure yourself out a little bit more. Everybody wants that, but they're not taking action on it. And I believe that this event that you're putting together will impact people. It will change your life, probably in a way that you don't even expect it to change, because usually that's how it works.
It always works like that. The thing that you think that you need is not the thing that gets delivered to you, but it is the thing that you need. It's happened to me like that all my
Every time.
life.
Right.
And I'm super stoked. Like, I think that we're going to hit everything from finance to investing to
Relationship,
mindset to relationship to health. And I got 3 full days with you guys, and I'm going to bring in some stuff you've never seen before. I promise you that. And I'm gathering all the information that I got to take home from around the world, from the best to the best, and I want to have 3 days just to spread it on you guys. And whatever I think is going to be additional, I've hired speakers to come in and coach on those certain things. So we're not going to miss anything, and it's a perfect time to set up things for 2022. I'd like everyone leaving there with a clear strategy and a map and some goals where they can execute it. And I'd like them to leave that event with a 90-day goal, 90-day goals. And every time that I've done this with my smaller groups or workshops I do out of this home, we've had magical results. I remember one of my clients had this woman. She had these money goals and wanted to hit a certain number and get hired for this certain job and book a trip to Bora Bora for her and her husband to celebrate and light that up and then get the kids in these programs and do all these things. She did it in like 9 days after she left here because she was so energy rich and she just crushed it. And she got her dream job almost like the next day. I think I got a text message. And then right after that, now that she had the pay raise, her reward to herself was that she was going to book her husband and her so they could light up their relationship and then get the kids in these special programs where the kids would be lit up. So she just boom, 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 boom. It happened so quickly. And honestly, like, if I didn't see it, I wouldn't believe in the magic. But when you guys have known, like sometimes there's weird things happening outside of our control that are literally the only way to describe them is magical. And when people can invest in that vision and see the potential that might be able to happen, it like opens up some sort of a pathway.
But I also believe that, you know, people want change. They want better finances, relationship, investment, whatever it is, health, all that. But they want it, but they don't invest time or money into getting better in those areas. Yeah. So you just stay in your shit, and this is endless loop.
Nothing changes.
I just want. Right. Quit wanting and start doing and invest in the area, whether it's going to the event or whatever it is, hiring a coach. This is you heard him earlier say, I've spent $800,000. I've done this. I've done that. Coaching, mentoring, mindset, meditation, whatever. That he invested where he wanted growth, right? So I'm telling you right now, there's going to be a kick-ass event here in Arizona, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th of December. You guys have plenty of heads up. You have about a month's notice by the time this episode drops. I would make some adjustments. Buy yourself a damn Christmas present because maybe you are focused too much.
So nice at this time of year.
Yeah, it's beautiful. But do yourself a favor. Do your family a favor. Do your business a favor. Do your health a favor. And spend $297, get a ticket, get a hotel room. I'm telling you right now, there will be people that listen to this podcast that attend that will message us and that they will let us know how much their life has shifted and changed just by putting themselves in the right room, the right energy, the right frequency around people that are there to help you serve, and you show up just open. Ready to make those shifts, because you can spend the money, you can invest the time, but you need to show up authentically open, ready to execute on some of the information that's given to you. And that's really the separator, because a lot of people have access to great information. It's the executors of the world that end up seeing the results.
Totally. And I love that. Everything that you said, I vouched for, and I had to learn myself. It's not an expense, it's an investment. And not to mention, you're going to network, you're going to meet these guys if they're here with the sponsorship and all that stuff. Like, listen, there are so many ways you can win here. Even if you just got out of the cold and into the warm weather for a little while and heard some amazing speakers and stories, that's a win.
You're going to go home with a shift in terms of your energy.
Something magical is going to happen, and it's like if it wasn't so confident, I wouldn't say it out loud.
Well, and I know a lot of, again, it sounds like fluff, it sounds like marketing, it sounds like it just is what it is. After reading your book, meeting you, I already know it's going to be an amazing event, a life-changing event for a lot of people. Guys, make sure you check out the information in the bio on where you can go to access that information. Make sure that you check out, Dave on Instagram. And you have what's the website again? allstarcoaching.com. Again, all that information will be in the show notes in the bio.
Do you like people to?
It'll be in the bio. How to spell his last name.
Okay. Scatchard.
Is how you spell the last name there. or you can just Google badass hockey player, and then and Dave Scatchard will come up.
Number one.
Or the concussion guy, right? So since that was
Schnazimoto.
Schnazimoto, yeah. So, guys, we hope you enjoyed today's episode. Again, Dave's going to break down some cool stuff for you here on YouTube. So if you're interested in checking that out, go over there, look up Real Business Owners, and Dave will go ahead and break down how you raise your frequency. Right?
Let's do it.
Yeah, man. Listen, you guys are awesome. And if you haven't already used these guys as services, they've shared a lot about what they're doing. And it's they don't really market it or advertise it to you guys because they care so much about you. But they're doing something pretty special and making it easy for you to do that work. And sometimes simplicity can lead to more execution.
More breakthroughs.
Yeah, more breakthroughs, more time. So check out what these guys are doing and get with them. And I just wish nothing but blessings for you guys.
Thank you.
And all the listeners. I want you guys to have the most incredible 2022 that you've ever could have imagined, and just put all of this stuff in the past, all the weird stuff the last year and a half, that is not your norm. We're going to recreate and redesign this incredible new year for you guys. And I just know you guys are on a mission to help and serve, and I'm grateful for you to come down here. I feel like I got two new brothers.
Yeah,
I'm grateful for the time that you shared with us, brother.
This trip was amazing for us, and just to be able to meet you and feel your energy.
Love you
It's
guys.
been
Yeah,
awesome.
man.
It's
Likewise.
been just incredible. So, guys, make sure you share this with a loved one, a friend, family member, somebody that needs a pick-me-up. You know, we've discussed a lot of things, but there's a lot of people that are down and out right now. And, we want them to know that there is light at the end of the tunnel. There is hope. And, Dave's story proves that as well. So, guys, take care. Kick ass. We'll see you next week.